Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Fawn sitting here with my buddy
Kevin Horde.
How you doing, my man?
I hope that was my cue to jump in and you're not hanging out with somebody else over there that I can't see.
There's nobody else over here. Just me alone. Always alone. We are still 1 week behind on Resistance. We will catch up at some point.
Yeah, it's all right. It gives us time to stew and, think about this thing and formulate some ideas because we're ideas people.
Yeah, ideas, and then
know.
we just fit it around the rest of our lives working, and I'm still unpacking from a move that I did like a week and a half ago, so...
Yeah, Lorenzo made a big change, upgrading his life.
Yes, huge change. But today we're here to talk about Resistance Live Fire. Again, this is the episode that aired October 20th, 2019. Third episode of Season 2 for Star Wars Resistance. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Should I just get right into the summary?
Let's do it, man.
All right. Again, if you have not watched Season 2, Episode 3 of Star Wars Resistance Live Fire, which aired October 20th, 2019, spoiler alert follows. Again, spoiler alert. I'm about to sum up the whole thing here. Ready?
Ready.
So, after the last episode, the Aces are saddened by the previous near defeat that they had with the TIE Fighters. All the Aces are sitting in the Aces Lounge. They're chatting it up. Doza walks in, overhears, and suggests running some training drills. Some of the Aces take this fine. Hype Phazon is a little more wary about this. His pride is a little bit more
bruised.
Bolstered. Yeah, it's bruised. So Doza comes up with the idea. Yeager will command, and Kaz will also join the Aces, being that Yeager and Kaz have actual combat experience and the Aces have racing experience. That is the distinction that is made. We cut on over to the First Order. We get Tam and Rucklin. They are training as well. They're running late. It's not going well. That's about the main gist of it there. We cut back over to the Colossus. We got Yeager, who's organizing a skirmish. It'll be Yeager and Kaz versus everybody else. So we see the first of the skirmish. Hype Phazon is not a team player, and the Aces get knocked out pretty darn quickly. Afterwards, Hype leaves the Aces. Kaz and Tora go to talk to Hype. We cut back over to the First Order. We watch their training session, which involves the live fire of the title. They will be shooting live fire against drones. The setup here is that the most knockouts amongst the group will become the squad leader. Let's see. So we get Lieutenant Gallic and Pyre observing this training exercise. Tam friendly fires upon Rucklin by accident, and instead of taking out the final drone, which would make her squad leader, she goes to save Rucklin from crashing into the side of the Star Destroyer. We cut back over to the Aces. They try another training exercise. They team up in pairs this time. We get a creature that emerges out of the water. They're flying around some icy planet.
Icy moon, actually.
Icy moon. Thank you. This creature emerges. We don't know what it is. We've never seen it before, and it chases after Hype Phazon. The creature captures Yeager's ship, and lasers do not hurt it from behind. Hype forms a plan to shoot ice towers and have the ice towers fall onto their creature. They pull off that plan. Ice indeed lands on the creature, and Yeager breaks free. We cut on over back to the First Order. Tam is scolded for saving Rucklin and loses the squadron leader position, even though she still had the most knockouts of the drones. We cut back over to the Colossus. Hype officially welcomes Kaz to the Aces after the wonderful training exercise and team building that they've had all together there. And that is when we cue loud music.
Cue fanfare.
Fanfare. This one was directed by Stuart Lee and written by Megrid Scott. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. Unless you know.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like Marguerite.
Megrid?
Almost like Margaret, but slightly different.
Right. I got nothing here. It's an Mairghread. So that is beyond me. I'm
Miss Scott.
I'm an English second language. I'm going to lean on that for that one.
Unbelievable, Lorenzo. Unbelievable.
It's a true fact, despite the fact that I only really know one language now. So
there you go.
Where do you want to start with this one?
I don't know, man.
Let's take this episode in halves, all right?
Okay.
Let's focus on Colossus stuff.
Okay.
Go through that, and then we'll flip over the First Order. Let's not go back and forth. Let's just
for sure
address everything.
I'm
on
good
the
with
Colossus side. So I am gonna just start by saying I really like the idea that Doza has to train the aces, especially after the near defeat of last time. Last episode, it wasn't like an awful ending for our heroes, but there was definitely room for improvement.
Yeah, it was kind of like a shit show. Like they were not prepared at all.
And I like the moment we have too with the former Imperial officer who kind of mentions
Griff Halloran.
Yeah, Griff. Yeah, he's like, hey, like they're not gonna stop. They're gonna come after us. So it'd be a good idea to get our shit together.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting that his combat experience was kind of just ignored throughout the episode. He brings it up a couple of times. I think somebody else says something to him because he's like, hey, we got to stick together. And they're like, Freya says, oh, I didn't know that Imperial pilots, were so into watching each other's backs. And he's like, we weren't. That's why we lost.
Right.
So, and I like the tie-ins with his history, and it's just kind of one more layer of detail in this show. And I think one great thing about Star Wars Resistance is that they're able to pull from so many different places for just like little nuances of information, and it's stronger for having that.
Right, especially because of we're close to what I think we were talking about during the trailer discussion, if you guys listen to that.
Probably.
The fact that there's like a perpetual now, if we can consider that, right? Where Solo is one long flashback, shall we say.
Right.
But the main numbered sagas, right? That's what we consider the perpetual now of
and
the
this
universe.
is happening concurrent to our now of the Skywalker saga universe, right?
Mm-hmm. So to your point, it's like because now instead of being placed between 3 and 4, or 4 and 5 even, where like a lot of the comics and stuff are, we do have a bigger well to pull on here, to draw upon. So I agree with you. These little bits from Griff were way more than we've gotten out of the character, I feel like, than we've ever gotten.
Yep.
And I do wish they pulled on his expertise more for being ex-Imperial.
Yeah. He should be, vocal in the forefront talking about what they need to do to defend against the First Order, because he was a member of the Empire, right? So he would know how they operate from the inside. Whereas like for Yeager and Doza, their expertise is just being on the other side, seeing the oppression, but not maybe firsthand seeing how they work, right? Now, Kaz has some experience. He says like years of flight experience or something. And, his age is kind of ambiguous. I think we've kind of decided he's like in his late 20s, right? Like 27, 28, somewhere around there.
He's got like a weird, again with the age, I haven't thought about that in a while, but It reminds me of like how Tintin can either be like 15 or 30, and it's hard to tell.
Right.
Right? That's how I feel about Kaz sometimes too, where I'm just like.
Whereas Tora is like 15.
Right. Yeah.
And like maturity wise, they're often pretty close to each other. And even skill wise, as far as piloting, they're similar in skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So I think it's, I don't know, it's his age, just, it's weird. But it kind of threw me for a loop when he was like, yeah, I had years of experience. Like, I kind of expected if we learned more about his past. Like, I knew he was in the New Republic Navy or whatever. I didn't think that he had that much tenure.
Right.
But it kind of is what it is. Two
I
things
guess amongst this group, like
I guess so. He's got
except for Griff.
Except for
maybe?
Griff. You know, Freya seems to me like an ex-military of some sort type of person. And Bo Keevil as well. I mean, I guess maybe Bo Keevil's like the hot rod racer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can slide him into that one. Hype is just, he's all hype, man. You know,
Pure
that's why his
racer,
name is Hype. He's full of himself. One thing that I really liked is that when Doza announces Yeager as being the new commander of the Aces, one of the comments that Hype has to Yeager is, you know, I think what he says, when did I sign up for the Resistance, or I don't want to sign up for the Resistance, like, I'm here as a racing pilot. And Doza's like, hey, totally fine, not trying to recruit you, but what we need to do is defend our home. Like, this has nothing to do with the Resistance. This just has to do with the First Order and the Colossus.
Yeah.
And then also later in the episode, after their first training mission, I guess, and Hype screws the pooch on it, and he's the reason that everyone failed, essentially. He's like, hey, you're going to blame me? And Tora's like, hell yeah, I'm going to blame you. Like, it's what you did that, you know, that's why we lost this training mission. And Yeager says that's because he was flying like a good racer, which makes him a terrible fighter pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great. And then I also thought, like, of Chuck Yeager, who Yeager is named after, right?
Yeah.
Used to be a fighter pilot and then got into, like, he's like the opposite of Hype.
Breaking fucking records.
Right.
Like, left and right.
He's like the opposite of Hype, where Hype goes out for speed and for, you know, in Chuck Yeager's case, it wasn't just speed, but it was perpetuating the technology of flight that evolved into space flight, right? But Hype is the opposite, where he started in racing and then got into combat, whereas the inspiration for Yeager was the other way around. So
I do want to comment too on Donald Faison playing Hype Faison in this episode. I think he sounds like he's having an absolute blast.
He fucking nails it, man.
Oh yeah, his attitude with Hype is awesome here. I think this is one of the better arcs we've had with Hype for sure.
So far,
not that we've had many arcs with Hype Faison, but for sure, like, this is definitely a very Aces centric episode, and Hype is at the forefront there. But I do want to comment that, you know, for having a character named after this guy, you know,
right? Like stuck up Donald Faison guy,
like a super arrogant version of Donald Faison.
Yeah, it's like Faison ego. Nah, that doesn't quite fit. But he definitely hypes himself up. That's what we're going to call him.
There we go. Let's call him Hype Faison and just spelling it slightly differently. So that part of the episode for sure bopped along pretty well, I would say. Right. So it's really interesting to me that they created a new creature for this moon, and
let's talk about this creature.
Yes, because I don't understand this creature.
It's an unnamed thing as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on this ice moon.
Did the moon get a name? I've already forgotten.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Yeah, you got ice moon with ice spires and this weird giant manta ray thing.
Right.
That like
it's a giant manta ray, but with like a hard shelled back.
Right, like a turtle, but it springs up from like under the ice, and then which I'm totally following all this so far, and where they lost me is when the thing fucking flies.
Right, so it's a water creature that can also just flop on out. So it's like that big ass thing that Obi-Wan rides on Geonosis. Or no, it's not him that rides. It's somebody. Yeah, was it Obi-Wan?
Yeah,
because there's a creature that's in the water and it like plops out.
No, it's not on Geonosis. It's on Utapau.
Or yeah, Utapau. No, not Utapau. No, not Geonosis either. Camino. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The one Camino. Sorry, Camino.
Yeah, that's not Obi-Wan.
That's not Obi-Wan, right? But there's that creature because I remember it from the trailer, the teaser trailer, even.
You know what? I'm kind of okay with that too, because at least the thing is like flapping its wings in that. Like this manta ray, giant ice manta ray beast,
just sort of hovers, right?
Yeah, it's it seems to be floating under its own power. It's weird. There's no propulsion to it because it's an organic, but it's also not like it's not flapping. It's swimming through air is what it's doing.
Right. Yeah, that's I agree with you. In thinking about whatever that creature was from Attack of the Clones, it felt like a bird that could swim, basically.
Uh-huh.
Whereas this is a fish that can fly.
Yeah.
Which is weird. That for some reason, that directionality, and I agree with you. And it is because of the weird details where it kind of just hovers. It doesn't... We don't get a sense of how it's
propulsed.
Propulsed through the air, right? And the fact that it has like these like weird, so like the way it grabs onto Yeager's ship is that it has these like
little crab legs underneath of it.
Yeah. So nothing about the biology of this makes sense, and I'm not expecting a lot of logic in Star Wars creatures, but I'm just expecting some, right?
It's questionable enough that when you're watching this, you kind of go, how does this thing work? It takes you out of it a little bit, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
Another thing, real quick,
go ahead.
is okay. So one, we don't know what type of atmosphere, if any, that this ice moon has. So that could be part of what's going on here. That could be part of why we're not understanding the way that this thing operates, right? But regardless, it's air swims / flies
yes,
as fast as these
ace racers
do, right? So I was trying to look into and see how fast an ace racer is. I don't know, because it's not listed. A lot of times you'll find like top speed and stuff like that. But so I was thinking, okay, it's probably comparable to an X-Wing, right? Or a TIE fighter. So an X-Wing maximum atmospheric speed is 1,050 kilometers an hour.
What?
That's really fast for a fucking organic for a fish to be flying through the air.
Right.
That's really fast.
Jesus. All right. So now I'm more confused by this creature.
Right. So this creature kind of breaks the bank for me on that. But aside from that, this mission where in the end, like, Yeager's ship gets caught, and then they kind of pull together and use a definitely non-traditional attack method, which is basically drop rocks on its head, so that it just lets go of Yeager.
They're trying to Wile E. Coyote this creature.
And it works.
Successfully, so yeah.
And Hype definitely, in his celebratory, self-righteous speech at the end, congratulates himself repeatedly, but also welcomes Kazuda into the Aces, and it's a nice little moment that they share together.
So here's my other question. So the Colossus jumped away from Dakar last episode, right?
Correct.
So did they use up all of the coaxium that they have? I don't know why I have to keep saying coaxium with my Hondo voice, but I do.
I don't think that they did. I
Are
don't
they
think
still
it's
on the run?
They are still on the run, but they are not running currently. Does that make sense?
They're kind of like in between. Like they've run a distance.
They're in hiding,
hid
currently.
behind a tree,
right?
Yeah.
And they currently they're still behind the tree.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah, but I don't think coaxium is like a 1-to-1. Like you use a unit of coaxium for one hyperspace jump.
They filled the gas tank and they got some ways to go.
Right. Now it does seem a little odd to me that the Aces, although it is necessary for them to do some training. I feel like some simulation or something. There's got to be a fucking simulator on the ship somewhere, right?
Right.
I mean, bare minimum, Tor's got like gunshot video games.
That's what I was gonna say. That video game, like, there's got to be some sort of training program that could allow them to keep going on the run, I guess.
Yeah, because to be in a situation where you are low on fuel and to burn fuel for like during your training mission seems
fuel and supplies,
right, seems what's the word for it, not smart,
frivolous.
Like they should be frivolous, and they're not being frivolous with their jet fuel right now. And you know that stuff is different than coaxium, so I was thinking about it, and is the Colossus like a giant oil tanker? So do they have like tons of regular fuel, just not hyperspace fuel?
I don't.
Or is there a difference between regular fuel and hyperspace fuel? Is it all just coaxium?
Know.
Because like fueling up the Falcon, they hook like tubes to it. It's not.
I think coaxium's like specifically
hyperspace fuel.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like specifically hyperspace fuel. I think there's like other systems that run the regular engine. It's like you have like a car battery and
like the sublight
gasoline.
Drives use a different type of fuel. I'm down.
Yeah, that's all. I have no proof of that. That's just my internal gut feeling, right?
Sure.
So, yeah.
What else you got on this side?
That's about it I have on Colossus that I can think of right now. That's kind of the wrap I have on that side. Otherwise, yeah, I think, should we hop over to First Order side?
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. So how do you feel about the fact that they're using live fire but on drones?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
It seems very First Order-y.
Yeah, we're getting like kind of we keep getting reminded of how different the First Order is with this dual storyline that we're getting in each of these episodes, right?
We're getting hit over the head with a stick.
Yes, it's full on where, so again, we start with the episode on this side with Tam and Rucklin running late, and like one of them like lost their helmet or something like that, and then
Rucklin couldn't find his and blah blah blah.
And then but Tam drops hers, and then when they like get in line, like they still don't actually have their helmets on. They place the helmets on, and then they get like reprimanded by what's her name, Lieutenant Gaelic, right?
Yep.
So it's still getting to me that Tam keeps trying to do like quote unquote the right thing and keeps getting reprimanded for it. At the beginning of this episode too, when they need to go to their ships to start the first exercise, she stops to ask Lieutenant Gaelic something. I don't know why I keep forgetting her name. But then Gaelic
you
is
keep forgetting her name because this is another character that could have been folded into somebody else.
Right. It could have just been Pyre or something.
Right.
Or Tierney.
Right.
Or, I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure there's a hierarchy.
Or Von Reg, or, I mean, they're all...
There are too many characters on this side that I don't care about, honestly.
Right.
But Tam stops to, like, talk to her, and then Gaelic is like, I gave you command to go to your ship and start the exercise.
And it's so funny because she, like, raises her hand like she's in fucking class or something. Right. And she's like, excuse me, teacher.
Right. What was she going to ask here? I don't feel like I have any indication of what Tam wanted to bring up here.
It's probably going to be something about the mission itself. Like, how many drones are there going to be? Or, do we have
fire?
Yeah, probably not live. Why live fire? Maybe.
Uh-huh.
Like, maybe she was going to question her, like, do you really think that's going to be a good idea? She was Hermione Grangering this thing, but she got shut down and didn't have the opportunity to do it.
So maybe like what she was going to say doesn't matter. It's just the fact that she wanted to Hermione Granger her way through.
Correct.
All right. And then the fact also that Lieutenant Gaelic is like, I gave you a command. Mm-hmm. Follow my shit.
Just fucking do it. I thought it was interesting that the disciplined complaint about them not having their helmets on, like what Gaelic says is that you haven't earned your right to be seen.
Right.
And the way that I took that is like, all of the troopers in the First Order are faceless, nameless. They're identified by number, and only through their actions and doing things for the First Order are they able to be later individualized.
So that's where like Von Reg, Pyre, and Phasma come in, right?
Right, which is interesting because the three of those we have also not seen their face except for we've seen Phasma's eye. But is this indicating also that Gaelic maybe at one point in time could have been, and Tierney could have been, like, uniformed in listies? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
And I think it's also Gaelic's way of trying to break Tam down a little bit. She's telling her, you're not important as a person. Put the helmet on. Do the job of the uniform. Don't be the person you are inside.
Why do we see Lieutenant Gaelic, but we never see Commander Pyre or Captain Phasma?
That's why it's weird.
Yeah, yes.
Because they take pride in the uniform, and that's the important thing.
I guess. Because they got special uniforms? Like...
Maybe.
Oh. Anyways, yeah.
Because they're always at the ready to do their job.
I guess. That's just weird.
So, as as far as I can tell, there was 3 drones. And there seemed to have been like 6 or 7 TIE fighters. Something like that. And... Tam definitely would have shot down all 3 of them. Hype pulls... Yeah. Hype and... Frickin'... What's the... Yeah, Rucklin. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. So, Rucklin pulls, like, the same thing that Hype does, where he, like, flies in front of somebody else as they're, like, lining up for a shot. Mm-hmm. These are not good pilots. Like, these are guys that don't understand the way that fucking blasters work or something.
Yeah, this is what confuses me, especially in the live fire exercise. Mm-hmm. Where, like, doesn't Tam even announce that she's, like, lining up the shot? Mm-hmm. And then Rucklin just, like,
Rucklin's like, nope, you're not getting this one.
Yeah, fuck you, and, like, goes right in right as Tam's about to pull the trigger. I'm not going to lie, I kind of would have preferred Rucklin to die here at any point in this episode.
Yeah, and I think that it would have been more meaningful for Tam, for Rucklin to have died.
Yeah. Like, I
Because
like Elijah Wood as the voice actor here, and I'm really glad he keeps coming back for these like little parts in the show.
right.
But he's totally annoying as a character. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He kind of hits me almost in the same way that like Niku does, just
Ooh, wow.
without the humor.
I like Niku.
So,
I like Niku.
I know
a lot.
you like Niku. It's just for Niku, it's the humor that doesn't hit me correctly. For Rucklin, it's just the actual character. And I know to some degree that's purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
It's just still doesn't make it pleasant, right? There are so many places for these characters to die, and I think we've discussed this already too, right? Last episode or episode prior for Resistance, where
People are gonna have to start dropping off. It seems.
at some point, or it's just weird that as the main saga is darkening up a bit, right?
Right.
Like those movies are still family appropriate. You can still bring, your family with an elder toddler, shall we say, a younger child. But this show still wants to try and occupy like that, like, ooh, it's a weekend cartoon kids show, and we're just gonna still all have fun, but it's a live fire exercise. It's real serious, but nobody's gonna get hurt,
Yeah, it definitely drops the stakes when everybody comes out the other end fine on an episode titled Live Fire.
Live fire.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, and again, for the show, which is only lasting 2 seasons, and, it's only got so much more runway left to land this ship.
Yep.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird tone to strike as we're leading into the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I agree. So hold that thought. Let's finish up any talk of the First Order and their live fire mission. You got anything else going on here?
Basically, it's still just like I'm confused about what Tam is doing or what she's thinking or why she's still hanging around. But also at this point, if she wanted to, she can't really leave, right?
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed, man. Like when she was like, "Yeah, it sounds good. I'll check this out." Like they're like, "Well, you're fucking stuck for life
You're
now.
in, man. Yeah,
you're in. You're in it till we win it, and then you're still in it until we tell you you're not."
Right.
Which is weird because these are like cadets, but they're already on like a Star Destroyer, and they look like they're full on in the First Order, like everybody else. I don't know.
Yeah, because like previous times we've seen cadets like in Rebels, like they don't get the full armor and they're not flying ties right off the bat, right? Like with
right.
They're just
No,
still
they're
just in basic
probably
uniforms.
And they're probably training in like simulators and shit, and boots on the ground type of thing, not pilots
because we
doing space training missions.
Right, we would have seen like cadet training with like Ezra back in Rebels, right?
Yeah.
Have we seen it in Clone Wars?
Well, yeah, we saw the cadets in that arc where Boba Fett was trying to kill Mace Windu.
Oh, right.
And then we also saw like Fives and his crew. Now they're older, but they're still cadets in training on Kamino with 99 and that deal.
Yeah.
With
I was
the
just thinking
Citadel
like
or whatever.
Either like Separatists or Empire specifically, perhaps. But yeah, we can apply
Empire. Han Solo joins. Right, joins the Imperial Navy. He wants to be a pilot, and the guy's like, "Yeah, we'll make you fly." And then the next thing we see is on Mimban, and he's just a boots on the ground dude.
Right.
So I think that I don't know. It's interesting. I think that for the most part, the First Order and the Empire and that type of structure is get more people in the line of fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, overwhelm with numbers, not with skill, necessarily. So...
Yeah, it's still weird to me, though, that the First Order would reward shooting down another tie in order to shoot through to get...
And I don't think
the drone.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point is that he wasn't worth saving because he is the weakest link. Like,
Right.
his dumbass flew in front of somebody that was trying to shoot the enemy and got his
then
ass
got
shot. He's not worth saving. You let him fucking die. And the Gaelic even says, and the First Order becomes stronger because they don't have this weak
Dumbass
link.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that totally made sense.
Yeah.
That worked. That story bit worked well for me.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
No, yeah, the way you the way you reiterated it there, I understand for sure. It's
Like,
still
if you're continually carrying these people through these situations,
you can't focus on the thing you're there to do.
right? You're
Okay.
not, and it's not a. I guess it's a. There's no man left behind rule. It's more like save your own ass, and if you're not
Right.
good enough,
It's complete the mission.
Yeah.
The First Order is like complete the fucking mission.
right? Do what's best
By
for the
any
First Order,
means.
and it's
Right.
not by saving this guy that got his ass shot by friendly fire because he's stupid.
Right. Now, do you think the First Order made a weird mistake by not assigning Tam as squad leader still, even though she took out 2 out of the 3 drones?
I think it's inconsequential. I think, like, what does that mean? Squad leader of what? Of whom?
Right.
What does it matter? Is she going to have some authority? Did she just lose the opportunity to gain authority? I don't
Right.
think so. I don't think it matters.
She would
I don't
still
think.
be evenly ranked with everybody else on the squad, right?
Yeah, I
She would
don't
just
think
be the leader of that squad, but in terms of like ranking,
it's probably like a PFC, like a private first class, as opposed to just like a private, right? But I don't think that in any future episode we're gonna meet the person that became squad leader
Right.
and they're gonna like come to blows or anything. I don't think it matters.
this is kind of the weird thing that's like frustrating me with Resistance right now, though, is that this is like a perfect opportunity to lay down the ideology of like the First Order and the Resistance, but we're still kind of dealing with like these weird small little stories inside.
Yep.
When we could really get a lot more big picture stuff, right?
It's definitely not macroscopic here.
Right. So like in terms of like everything you're saying, it's like I feel like we're spending a lot of time with both the Resistance and First Order, or at least Colossus. Maybe not Resistance per se, but definitely First Order. But I still feel like we aren't really getting anything. We aren't getting any meat here, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I think this is a good place to transition to our judgment of this episode. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and one-word review. Because we're pretty much there anyway.
Right.
So what do you got? Is this a Dave rave or a Filoni baloney?
It's right in the middle. And here's what I'm gonna say: this is an entertaining enough episode,
Right?
but I find it, one word review, inconsequential.
Okay.
And because of that, it's a thumbs down. Like, I can't recommend this episode to anybody because it doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, like, yes, we do move forward in the story. There is a lot of movement in the story in terms of like the Aces getting their shit together and Tam, I guess, getting a better look at how the First Order works. The Tam side, I don't feel like there's any development there, honestly. We don't learn anything about the First Order that we didn't fucking know before.
Yeah,
At fucking all.
her development's been pretty stagnant. Like, I don't even know. Like, even the information that's being presented to her hasn't been building too much, which is kind of frustrating. My one-word review of this is forgettable. Because this episode, you could probably watch this and a couple days later you're going to be like, all right, there was some training that went on, but okay, like whatever.
Yeah. And this episode actually like passes by quickly too. The way it hops back and forth because it's just a lot of training exercises that kind of just keep building on one another.
Yep. That being said, I do give this one a thumbs up.
Okay.
Like it's a fun little ditty that isn't something that you need to commit to memory like it's going to be super important right now. Yeah. It's world building a little bit. We do get to dive a little bit into some other characters and see some kind of different points of view. We do get the slightest bit of kind of operational mechanics of the First Order, which is kind of nice. And I think that some future episode could take what happens here and build on it.
Yeah.
And won't have to waste time with it since it's already been done. But overall, it's just kind of like, okay, it's another episode. I don't think it's necessary to what we've seen so far. If I was going through a list saying this episode's okay to skip, this one's not, I would say this one's probably okay to skip.
Right. Like it's something you could explain to somebody in like 2 sentences where it's like, oh, the Aces are now fighters. Cool. Skip this episode. Great.
There's some weird beast, ice, manta ray flying.
But that's not even important to mention. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like, if somebody is just like, give me an overview of like the first 3 episodes, you just be like, oh, Colossus is on the run, and then Aces are gonna defend the Colossus.
And this is especially kind of dull since what happened last week was Niku with some coaxium. There's like high drama and shit, and there's a possibility that not all the Aces are going to make it back to the ship, and there's this big dramatic thing. And now it's like, we're out of supplies. Let's do some training. Tam saved a guy. More training. End of episode.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, this is not a bad episode. It just...
And that's why I didn't give it a thumbs down, because it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. I just also don't feel like it's worth anything.
I think that your explanation of your rating is sufficient.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we split just so for that reason, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I wouldn't want this one to get 2 thumbs up, but I definitely wouldn't want it to get 2 thumbs down either.
I don't disagree. Disagree. So I'm glad you went the way you did, because that's where I started. I was like, it's right in the middle. It's just whatever. I hate saying this over and over. I just need the show to pick up a little bit, and it's kind of like where we are in Clone Wars, right? It kind of took 4 seasons to get there. Let's say like 2 and some to like really
definitely 2 and some change and a half.
Yeah. Like 2.5 fairly, right? To kind of get where it needed to go in terms of like changing the tone of the show, kind of understanding what the show needed to do, kind of step away from like the weird, like really light
vignettiness, right?
Yeah. But now for a show that only has 2 seasons, right? I keep saying it over and over, and I hate repeating myself. Not really, but but like, if this show is gonna be worthy in the canon, right? Because like there are episodes in Clone Wars that I find for my friends who are huge Star Wars fans, but you know, you can still be a huge Star Wars fan and not dive into the canon, into the expanded universe stuff, right?
Right.
I'm not one of those gatekeepers that's, you know, like, oh, you're not a real Star Wars fan if you haven't read or watched everything.
Right.
No,
if you don't know that the Blurg debuted in the fucking Caravan of Courage, you know.
Nobody has this fucking time, right?
Right.
So, like, one of my other friends, he just kind of watches a few episodes of Clone Wars here and there, and I'll try and guide him. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, these 3 are important. Like, this is an important arc. Skip this shit. Watch this arc, and he, like, that's all he fucking needs, right? But for Resistance as a fucking whole, I don't feel like there's anything here up to this point at all that makes me feel like, yes, Resistance is adding to my understanding of Star Wars canon as a whole.
Well, maybe it doesn't have to.
But it's still okay. That's a high bar, okay? That's a high bar.
Mm-hmm.
But even lower than that,
Mm-hmm.
within itself, is it still a show that justifies its own existence for you to watch?
I would say yes. And my evidence is the conclusion of season 1. And then to also make the comparison with the Clone Wars, season 4 is really fucking good of the Clone Wars. And it starts with some of my least favorite Clone Wars moments, right? Especially the fucking shark guy, whatever his name was.
Right.
I felt that was like terrible, and I would tell anyone, do not watch that, because it is not on par with where the show is at that time, you know. So I'm thinking we're only three episodes in. I know this is the final season, but I think I have a feeling that things are going to be picking up, and then they're just going to fucking skyrocket once that happens.
Here's, I think, the difference between Clone Wars and this show, too, is that at least, like, Clone Wars has self-contained arcs, right? So you can recommend, like, 3 episodes at a time to people. Whereas Resistance is such a show, it's such a series that each episode kind of... There are definitely standalone episodes that kind of do their own thing, especially in season 1. But each episode is kind of still building on top of another. That's hard to just be like, oh, just watch this episode, because then they still don't have a context for who the fuck, like, Niku is. Right?
And that's where I think that this episode is, as we described it, as inconsequential and forgettable, because you could go from a quick salvage run to whatever's happening next week, which is Hunt on Seltzer 3.
Right.
So, I don't know what the fuck that means, but I don't feel like live fire is a necessary step in that footpath.
No, it's... Yeah. I'll say full judgment for when this whole season wraps up. I don't disagree with you there, but
yeah,
I'm just... As of right now, I'm just not feeling good, and it's just putting me in a bad mood that I hope can change with next week's episode, right?
Yeah, well, we'll have to revisit that next week and see if your feelings are any better. Hunt on Seltzer 3 has the potential to bring you back to 50-50 on your rating of this show, so I'm definitely interested to get there next week for sure.
Last week a thumbs up for me? I honestly don't remember.
Yep. You've been down, up, down so far.
Up, down. All right.
Yep.
So Hunt on Seltzer 3. I'm assuming they're going to hunt for more coaxium.
Okay.
No. I'm assuming they're going to go for the actual supplies they need. And again, now that I'm saying this, I don't feel good about it, because I need them to get into actual meat and not... I guess they need meat to, like, survive right now. But they need to...
Was that an intentional pun, or was that accidental?
That was accidental. I need to get into the meat of this story and not literal meat because they are fucking about to starve to death on the Colossus. I do not care about them starving to death on the Colossus. This is like a weird side tangent of this story of the Colossus where I just need them to get wherever the rest of the Resistance are. For a show called Resistance, there is very little resistance on this goddamn show.
That's not going to happen until after The Rise of Skywalker comes out.
And in that case, this whole series should have just been delayed until a lot closer to that and just jumped off with whatever we need to get to, instead of these like 8 episodes of fucking nonsense of, oh, go get the coaxium. Oh, let's have a training exercise. Oh, hey, we're hungry. We're out of water. Like there's no more alcohol. What's Aunt Z gonna do? The economy of the class is like, it's falling apart. People's stocks are going down. People don't have their 401ks on the Colossus. How are we going to fix the 401k problem?
You know,
Like,
you're not wrong. However,
like we are running into like the weirdest little details of the Star Wars universe right now that I don't give a shit about.
and you know, the funny thing is that's part of what has always drawn me to Star Wars is
Yes.
like the infinitesimal mundanity of details of things. And so
Yes.
I'm rolling right along with it. And maybe that's why I've been thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Okay. To that point, I think those are cool anecdotes, not a series, right? Not a full, maybe like shorts in between the shit, which exists. You know? Like this is where like Forces of Destiny, is that what that was called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where that comes in.
Well, there was also little shorts that came along with season 1 of Resistance.
Right,
So,
of this show, right.
Of this show, yeah. I would say don't condemn this entire thing yet.
Right. I'm just saying that we need to get past this weird little petty shit on a full series.
And you're
Again,
saying you don't think it's going to happen next week?
Oh,
with
it's not happening
Anton
next week.
Seltzer 3.
No. It's not happening next week. It's not going to happen. Like, I agree with you. Once we get towards December, like,
Shit's
it'll
gonna
start
start
ramping
picking
up. It'll start picking up. I have faith in the show. I'm just also... Okay, here's my prediction. And this is based only on season 1 and these 3 episodes, right? So, like, I'm a huge fan of Rebels. I really enjoy Rebels, especially with the emotional weight that show pulled through.
Right.
You know, especially by the time we get to, like, season 2 and 3, for sure. Again, that show also had a rough season 1, so that's why I was being real light on Resistance for a while. Because for some reason, every Star Wars cartoon show has issues figuring out its own tone.
Yeah, it's got an identity crisis, like, from the get-go.
Always with the tone.
And even, like, season to season, it does that.
Yeah. But then, like, I'll admit, even for Clone Wars and for Rebels, once we kind of get out of that issue, they pick up. Especially Rebels, I really enjoy. Clone Wars, I have more trouble saying that with because of how bad, to me, season 1 was. You know.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
Just not consistent, right? Whereas Rebels just had to find its footing and went up from there, right?
Yep.
I don't see myself looking back on Resistance and being like, wow, like I'm sad it was only 2 seasons. Like, I feel like
I don't know, because I feel like you have repeatedly said that you're sad that this is only 2 seasons because you're like, where the fuck is this going to go? Well,
there's shit that needs to be explored here, and they're not getting into any of it, which is where I'm getting annoyed, right? There's nothing about this show that has pulled me in as emotionally as Rebels ever did, and even Clone Wars did.
Okay.
Right. I like Kaz. Kaz is probably the strongest part of the show to me. Kaz and Yeager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Yeager is probably the strongest part of the show. Kaz he's too back and forth to be...
I think maybe
solid.
not as a character I like, but as a character I will at least have memories of in terms of like a year or two looking back. The way that for better or worse, like Ezra and Kanan are characters that stick in my head, and the version of Anakin that exists in Clone Wars, right?
Okay.
Like that's like even though they're supposed to be the same characters, like there's a distinct version of Anakin from Clone Wars that does kind of get segregated in my head. He just has a different tone and sound and feeling to him.
Agreed.
Like, aside from the fact that it is a different voice actor and it is a very stylistic cartoon, right? Mm-hmm. But we're getting very deep into this right now. But I just need this show to stop dealing with petty shit.
You want him to quit fucking around. Shit or get off the pot. Let's
Right.
go. Jump into this thing.
For a show called Resistance, like,
Resist something.
I thought we were gonna. Again, this is my own expectations that are maybe unfairly placed upon a show called fucking Resistance. But I would. Do you know anything more about the Resistance from this than we didn't know before?
No, because essentially there's only one person of the Resistance in this show, and that's
Right.
Kaz, who just joined. So
what the fuck is the show? Like,
that's
Again,
a good
it's a
question.
this is a very okay.
Probably
So
for another time.
this is not a premature review. This is just open questions I have for my mood leading into the rest of this season that the show needs to fucking get on, right?
Well, then I would say let's leave that as an open question.
Yes.
And if anybody does feel the need or the desire to let Lorenzo know
Right.
how this show is Resistance.
Somebody please let me know. Like, I'm going into every episode with an open mind for sure. I'm not looking for trouble for every episode, right?
Right.
But I'm just saying, this show is not pushing my thumb up. You know, it's not pulling it up that direction yet.
Not quite yet, no.
Yeah. So, but yes, as you were saying,
Yeah, that being
People
said,
contact us.
let's close this one out.
do it.
And, comment on Lorenzo's dissection of the title of this show. You can do that via our social medias. The easiest way to find those are, I don't know, you've been listening to the show for a while, presumably, so you probably know where we are. But if you don't, or if you need to tell a friend, just head on over to nothingnerdz.com. We got links there. It works on mobile, works on desktop, super duper. Also, head over to YouTube. Give us a little love over on YouTube. We're looking for some more subscribers there. That would be great. What else we got?
We also want to thank.
Yeah, go ahead.
We thank Lindsay, Strange Fancy Music at gmail.com. She put together the jingle for us. We got Kevin on Twitter at they call me K-Dub. He's the fella that put together our cover art. And I still haven't committed the last guy to memory, and I feel really bad now. The guy who put together our website is...
That's my buddy Anthony, and on Twitter he is at Blue the Beard.
Blue the Beard. Very nice. But as always, until next week for Resistance, we'll try and catch up at some point, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I might give this one a couple of days to sit, and
Right.
but we'll have Hunt on Seltzer 3 coming at you soon. And then we've also got Clone Wars going simultaneously as this, so check out that feed as well.
For sure. Until then, I've been Lorenzo Fon.
Kevin Horde here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.